Hi, this is Boris Blade. I'm the host of Strange But Harmless, and this is part of our Christmas series. Actually, it is Santa Road Trip, Episode 2, not the official title. Here I'm going to tell you about first time I played Santa for pay. Oh, but first, how about getting in the Santa outfit? That's a story in and of itself. So let's get started.
Then we go into what I'll call the dark years. My party years, I was more interested in partying. Yeah, I still once in a while might have, I don't know, I don't remember. I was quite stoned all the time, drinking a lot. But I might have played it once in a while, Santa, for my friends and that once in a while, I don't know. But then I met
My wife.
I cut my partying down. I promised her I would not do any drugs other than marijuana or marijuana derivatives. That means made for marijuana. And of course I still drank some, but by that time I'd already pretty much quit drinking. When I was in my mid-20s, I was getting pretty bad where I was drinking. I mean, some people laugh, but I was up to a 6-pack a night on the weeknights. And those nights I was going to hang out with friends. This girl I knew who was a good friend of mine. And I'd hang out at her house and sleep on her couch after drinking till 1 or 2 in the morning, and then going to work at 7 o'clock in the morning. And then on the weekends, oh geez, and it was outrageous. So one night I just decided, it's time I give this a rest. And I cut back on my drinking. And my friends didn't really know at first because I still always had a beer in my hand. But I'd have one beer and I'd milk it. I'd have it in my hand. Anytime I got near a sink or a toilet, I'd dump a little bit out so it never was full, it never was empty. And then when I got it empty, I'd just make a scene of throwing it away and getting another one. Yeah, 2-3 beers for a party all night, for hanging out with friends and shit. But I didn't drink most of it. Most of it got dumped out. So, again, still wasn't playing Santa. Maybe once or twice. I think I did for my friends who I was partying with, for their kids. But that was just because I wanted to, free. They didn't ask for it. No, I'm not bragging. I'm just saying that was the circumstances. I guess it does sound like bragging. Sorry. But then I met
My wife.
And like I said, I promised her I wouldn't do any drugs. And by then, my drinking was well under control. And I had family who had kids by then. And so we got close to the family. And closer than I was when I was partying. Although I partied with my sister some. But anyways, I started doing Santa again for family. And mostly my sister and some of the other nephews and nieces and that. And nothing really stuck out about those years except the fact that I had grown my hair out, like I mentioned before, but it was brown, dark. So we went to the same costume shop. God, I wish I could remember it. It'll still come to me, I'm telling you. And we got this theatrical. First we tried the sprays, and of course they didn't work very well. And then we bought this theatrical dye that you had to pretty much paint on your hair. And when it dried hard. It was like actual theatrical dye, what they used back on vaudeville type theater back in the day, when people were, way back away from you and they couldn't see you. The stuff they made jokes about if you got too close to the house lights, it would start dripping. Well, that was not a joke. Take it from experience. That was true. In fact, but she started doing it. Now, when she first started doing it, I think the first time took her 3 hours to get my hair to where it looked good. But she did my whole head, my full beard, whole 9 yards. Okay? The year after that, I thought about it and I told her, I said, why don't you just I put my Santa hat on, I took it off, and I said, do an inch above this and down. Anything above my hat level, an inch above my hat level, I don't need done. So that cut it down to about 2 hours in the chair. But she got it good. She did very well, okay? And I think the first year that she did that was the year when the cute girl was there. I think that was. That's why my disappointment wasn't on a high level, because I was married. Otherwise, I think if I was single, I would have been highly disappointed, not slightly disappointed, that I missed her call the next year. Anyways, neither here nor there. I do remember that when I was sitting in her living room, she had me close to a fireplace. I had never been close to a heat source before. And yeah, I did have to kind of give her the bum's rush after I give the kid the presents, because I did start to drip. Now, it was not dripping on the floor or anything, but I could feel it running in my beard. And that's when I kind of got out of there and got back out into the cold, which of course stopped it. But eventually I got to where I learned how close I could and couldn't get to heat sources. If they put the chair over a heat register, I'd pull it up and move it away. You know, that kind of thing, to where it was blowing up my back, not my front. Because my back could drip a little bit, it would just get on the suit. And this is cool. There are dry cleaners, were back then, I don't know about now, that would dry clean your Santa suit for free. And that was cool. I took advantage of that 1 or 2 years. Although I did have to take the white cuffs off because they were not dry cleanable the first year. After a couple of years, they got really bad condition and they were dirty. They wouldn't come clean. So my mother and I took them off. We went to a craft store and bought fantasy fur in white and put them on. And we made the cuffs like 6 inches wide. And the pants didn't have cuffs at the bottom. And if they did, we took them off also. And then we made cuffs that would slip over my legs and just pull them up over and tuck the bottom of the pants into them. And that's how I did my bottom cuffs. And they were only ended up about 3 inches because of the way they had to be made. I loaned my Santa suit to my sister one year, the only year I loaned it out. Got it back without the matching hat, so I had to make my own hat. The suit is a nice suit, I never did mention. It's a corduroy suit. This is not a cheap suit. This suit costs some money. The wig and hair and beard that came with it were quality theatrical. I believe they were from Great Britain or Spain or something. I know they were from Europe, and they said theatrical on them, so that's where I'm getting that from. But still, you could tell they were, the way they were made and the way they put on and they looked when they were on, they were high quality. This was a nice setup. So I lost the corduroy hat. The same year that we made the cuffs in that, I went ahead and bought cloth material that's almost the same color, made my own hat, put a nice big ball on the end of it, made a nice wide fluff around it. It looks cool. It's good enough. But got down to work.
My wife
Put my hair done in about an hour. She got to where she was doing a mixture of the theatrical, which she brushed on with like a toothbrush, and then she would do the touch-up with the cheap spray. And she got to where she could do it in an hour, and it looked good, okay? And with the cheap spray being on it, then she would use hairspray, so I would be able to get closer to heat sources. We worked it out. You know, we're not stupid. Maybe I shouldn't leave that in there. Anyways, so that's a little bit more history on the suit and the evolution of me playing Santa.
Well, that's a little bit about how I get in the suit and everything, plus more, obviously. Let's jump right into the first time I used it for pay.
So then I decided, you know, I'm going to give it a try. So that next year, I borrowed the suit again, and yeah, I lined up a couple of gigs. I put an ad in the newspaper, local newspaper. This was pre-internet times, of course. And I got me a couple of calls. Now, back then, I had to use the fake beard and wig that came with it. Again, back then, they were in pretty good shape because the thing was in pretty good condition all in all. In fact, the reason why the dealership had it, I never told you, was because the sales manager was kind of like a schemer, and he wanted it to use at his house every year for Christmas. So when I borrowed it, I had to have it back on Christmas Eve, of course. And but he conned the owner into buying it, saying he could do promotions at Christmas time dressed like Santa, which he did 1 or 2, I guess. But yeah, so it was available when I wanted to borrow it the week before Christmas. So the weekend before Christmas, the first year, I had my first group gig, and well, needless to say, that didn't go well. There was 14 kids, and ranging, it was a preschool, so they were all around 4, 5-ish. I don't know. What's preschool? Kindergarten nowadays, what, 6 years old? Whatever. And I go in and I thought, well, I'm going to play this up. So ho, ho, ho. I got my own ho, ho, ho. I don't ho, ho, ho. I go ho, 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 ho. Try to make it sound like a, a ho laugh, not a ho, 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 whatever. Anyhow, so I go in there and I'm ho-hoing it up. And I sit down and I got all these 14 kids. They got them in a circle, semicircle around in front of me in the throne-looking chair they've got for me, which is pretty much a high-back chair with arms that the kids decorated. It was all right. It was cool, for preschoolers. And I sit down and I hear one of the kids humming a song. And like me, show off, I'm like, hey, who wants to sing a song? Ha, ha, ha. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What do you want to sing? Rudolph, Rudolph. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, you. And because I'm not thinking the kids' version of Rudolph the Red. No, I'm thinking the grown-up version. Dasher and Dancer. And I couldn't put the two together. I just couldn't get it together that I'm sitting in front of these preschoolers and I'm going to sing this version. And it just total mind blank. I had a brain fart like I never had before. After about 15 seconds of uncomfortable silence and the kids starting to make noises, one of the parents started the song. I looked at him, mouthed thank you, took over, and it went on from there. From there, everything else went fine. I had a couple of criers. You're going to get that in a crowd of 14. But all in all, it went very well, other than the Rudolph incident, as I like to refer to it. And that same year, I had my second one. This one was cool, really was. And it was a single mother, and she had a young boy. And when I knocked on the door, he was in bed, and I got paid extra because it was Christmas Eve, and I figured, screw the guy at work. He used it every year, and she seemed nice on the phone. And he'd never had Santa Claus over, and she just split with her husband, and it was his first Christmas without his dad. So I felt sorry. Plus, she offered me double my money. And because I told her, I said, I don't have the suit that night. She goes, if there's any way you can get it, I swear I'll pay you double. And I was like, yeah, okay. So I got the suit, kept it when I wasn't supposed to. I show up at her house, and she was gorgeous. I'm going to say it. She was. She had long black hair. She looked either Mediterranean, like maybe Spanish, and she was just gorgeous, okay? And so he hears the noise, and her little boy, maybe 4 or 5 years old, comes out and sticks his head out. He's wiping his eyes, the sleep from his eyes, the whole 9 yards. And he sees me, and his whole face just lights up. So I sit down in a chair, put him on my lap. I'm like, what do you want for Christmas? Oh, no, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention. When I knocked on the door, she met me at the door with a bag of gifts. That gave me an idea for future use. So I go in, and I get the bag and put it next to me at the by the chair. He comes out and everything. He sits on my lap. Instead of asking what he wants for Christmas, I start to give him a gift, and she shakes her head. So I've said like this, and she goes, ask him. So I said, what do you want for Christmas? And he asked for something, and she kind of pointed at one of the gifts. She had already gotten him everything he wanted for Christmas. I was almost crying. You never heard of Santa frickin' crying. I swear I was almost in tears. Played it up big time. It was so nice. And then at the end when I went to leave, of course, I told her I didn't want her money at all. But she forced me to take it, but I wouldn't take the double. I just took the original amount that I charged. And she gave me a hug, and she thanked me, kissed me on the cheek. And I thought we had a moment. I gave her my card. Well, not really a card. It was some things I made up that I hand wrote my number on for future use. She told me she'd definitely give me a call. Me, a young idiot, thought, oh boy, she's going to give me a call. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, that was a good experience. And that was the end of my first year doing paid gigs.
Well, that's the end of tonight's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm Boris Blade, and I am, as always, strange but harmless.